For some people, the question of whether the Garden of Eden ever existed is not up for debate, but for others it seems a lot like a folk tale. After all, they've not been able to pinpoint a particular location for it. This argument has piqued the interest of scientists and archaeologists who have searched ancient texts and writings for any clue or reference that might aid in locating the garden, or even give a tiny bit of a clue about its location. There's been some progress, and in today's video we will discuss some of these shocking and terrifying findings. Let's go! Let's take a brief history lesson about the Garden of Eden. Okay, for those who aren't religious or unfamiliar with Adam and Eve's story, according to Genesis 2 of the Bible, the Garden of Eden, also known as Paradise on Earth, was humanity's first home. It's supposed to be a paradise with everything in its right place. There was no sickness, death, or hunger. Eden was the name of a region that was a part of the first creation and was in the world before the flood. Adam and Eve were the first occupants of the garden, as God placed them there to tend the garden and watch over it. However, the Garden of Eden contained a special tree called the Tree of Knowledge of Good and Evil, and Adam and Eve were forbidden by God to eat its fruit. Unfortunately, they disobeyed this pivotal instruction from God and they were expelled. To prevent people from accessing the Tree of Life, which obviously could have saved them from the physical death to which they were sentenced, God decided to place cherubims at the east gate of the garden. The name Eden means place of pleasure and delight. It is a magical, peaceful name with Hebrew origins. So, where is this mythical garden located? Many people have claimed that the Garden of Eden has been discovered over the years. Of course, each finding keeps taking us to a different location. Is the Garden of Eden in Africa? Now, it's no news that scientists discovered that all humans have ancestors that lived in Africa between 150,000 and 200,000 years ago. This discovery has become the bedrock for some people to believe that the Garden of Eden is located in Africa. Coincidentally, Africa is also located on the east of the world map. Interesting, right? According to their findings, Botswana is the most likely location of the garden and the beginning of humanity. Eden was located in the Kalahari Desert, which was once a wetland where early humans lived. Lake Makgadikgadi spanned Namibia, Botswana, and Zimbabwe at the time. If not Africa, then where? In Genesis 2, the Bible recounts the land surrounding the garden, even using familiar geographical names like Ethiopia. It mentions a spring in the garden that divides into 4 great rivers, one of which is the Euphrates. Many people, including Bible experts, believe that the Garden of Eden was located somewhere in the Middle East, in the Mesopotamian region, around present-day Iraq, where the modern Tigris and Euphrates rivers flow, also known as the Tigris-Euphrates River Valley, and that its vestiges vanished long ago. It's also true that this area was the site of the ancient Tower of Babel and the patriarch Abraham's home in Ur. The Tigris-Euphrates River Valley undoubtedly plays a unique role in biblical history, but was it the location of the Garden of Eden? Since the Bible references the rivers of Tigris and Euphrates, it suggests that the head of the Persian Gulf could be a likely location. However, when archaeologists excavated the area, they were left shocked. It was revealed during Morgan Freeman's The Story of God series. He said in 2017 that the area is an 11,000-year-old site that lies between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. The problem with this argument is that the river's courses have altered over time, and the geographical landmarks mentioned in the Bible are no longer there. As a result, it's plausible that they didn't even flow through Iraq during the time the garden is claimed to have been. Furthermore, if the garden existed in Iraq, why have we yet to discover it? With all of the archaeological digs in the vicinity, someone should have found it. However, it seems improbable that the geography of creation survives the flood. According to the Bible, the flood wiped the earth clean. Therefore, a geologic event of that magnitude would modify the planet's surface. Don't get us wrong, we're not saying that the garden couldn't have existed in Iraq at some point, it just means that it's no longer there, and we can't see any proof of it because it was buried beneath miles of sediment. The possibility that geologists could locate any trace of Eden, even if it still existed around Moses' time 1,500 years after the flood, seems remote. So, if Eden is in Iraq, let's look at the current state of this once-upon-a-time paradise. Iraq is one of the most easternmost countries of the Arab world, located on the same latitude as the southern United States. It's bordered to the north by Turkey, to the east by Iran, to the west by Syria and Jordan, and the south by Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. Iraq is well endowed, with large oil reserves second in the world only to Saudi Arabia. The regime has been able to finance ambitious projects and development plans throughout the 1970s. They built one of the most significant and best-equipped armed forces in the Arab world. The party's leadership, however, was quickly assumed by Saddam Hussein, a flamboyant and ruthless autocrat who led the country into disastrous military adventures like the Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s and the Persian Gulf War in 1990. These conflicts left the country isolated from the international community and financially and socially drained through unprecedented coercion directed at significant sections of the population, particularly the country's disfranchised Kurdish minority and the Shiite majority. He and his regime were toppled in 2003 during the Iraq War. Today, Iraq is one of the world's most vulnerable countries, plagued with political crises, scorching temperatures, water scarcity, and human issues. In 2014, the Islamic State advanced into Iraq from Syria. It took over parts of Anbar province, eventually expanding control in the northern part of the country and capturing Mosul in June 2014. The Madan, or Marsh Arabs, are a predominantly Shiite Muslim Iraqi people who've lived for over 5,000 years off the country's wetlands in southeastern Iraq. The marshland, which previously comprised the Middle East's most extensive wetlands ecosystem, range in size from 8,000 to 20,000 square kilometers seasonally, near the confluence of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. The area also contains some of Iraq's finest oil resources. Traditionally, the Marsh Arabs subsisted on fishing, agriculture, buffalo breeding, and cane reed harvesting, from which they manufactured crafts. A significant municipal project to construct a drainage canal to irrigate the area for agriculture between the Tigris and the Euphrates was started in 1953. Saddam Hussein seized control of the undertaking and drained the marshlands, obliterating the Arab residents' means of subsistence. The Saddam River was given to the name of the canal. His main goal in draining the marshes was to chase out the Shia rebels camped out in the comparatively difficult-to-reach reed beds. As many as 200,000 people may have been forcibly uprooted from their homes due to government forces bombing marsh communities, torching homes, planting land and water mines, and arresting, torturing, and killing citizens. NASA satellite photographs from 1992 and 2000 revealed that 90% of the marshlands had vanished. According to the UN, one of the biggest environmental disasters in the history of the planet was the draining of Iraq's marshes. Only 20,000 to 40,000 Marsh Arabs are thought to still reside in the area, down from an estimated 250,000 in 1991. However, while subsequent findings showed that the Saddam regime was aiming to silence its opponents, and even till now, the effect of this massacre against environmental diversity still lingers on the once-upon-a-time paradise. The Mesopotamian marshes were already struggling before Hussein employed ecocide and ethnic cleansing against his opponents. As far back as the 1950s, developers raised wetlands to combat mosquito spread, facilitate agriculture, and tap oil reserves hidden in the Mesopotamian marshes. Thankfully, after a decade of decline and near destruction during the rule of Saddam Hussein, new satellite images show that Iraq's fabled marshlands of Mesopotamia, considered by some to be the original Garden of Eden, was recovering at phenomenal speed. This was all thanks to the $11 million project by the UN to restore the environment and provide clean drinking water in the marshlands of Mesopotamia. The Iraqi marshlands were to be restored through ecologically friendly technology as part of the project, which the government of Japan supported. By April 2004, satellite images indicate that around a fifth, or some 3,000 square kilometers of the marshes had been re-flooded, and it seemed as though the region was on its way back to being a paradise on Earth. Will we ever know the Garden of Eden's exact location? According to groundbreaking studies, scientists now know the Garden of Eden and its location better. Iraq is undoubtedly the most likely site among the many theories regarding the Garden of Eden's location. We'll discover it someday. While some desire to accept scientific data, others think God alone can know where the Garden of Eden is. According to the Bible, after God expelled Adam and Eve from Eden, he set up cherubim with flaming swords to the east of Eden to stop them from ever returning. Therefore, even if we manage to locate the garden today, we might never be allowed to get inside, so the Garden of Eden is a mystery that we may never solve. But it's a story passed down for generations, and will continue for many years. Is Iraq the location of the Garden of Eden, or is more still left to be discovered? Remember to share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Please always like, share, and subscribe to our channels for more awesome discoveries. Thanks and bye.